Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final episode of our LinkedIn Live series on the 2020 second half SAP SuccessFactors release. I'm again your host, Craig Powers, Managing Editor at Rizing, and I'm hoping I can recruit you to watch this session on the latest updates in SuccessFactors recruiting. A few housekeeping notes. As a reminder, with so many people working from home, bandwidth might be stretched. If there are issues with the stream, hold tight and we'll get it back online as fast as possible. So grab a drink. Again, I'll let you decide which one, depending on which time zone you are in. And let's get going with our panelists. First today, we're lucky to have a returning panelist from the last release, Nabila Natarajan. She's our senior consultant for AMS. How are you doing today, Nabila?
I'm doing great, Craig. Thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm loving your jacket. You're ready to go.
I am.
I'm guessing you're trying to hold to the standard of our next panelist, Lorne, who is our most frequent and most bow-tied. But Lorne, today, no bow tie.
Clean slate. So, end of the year, new month, we're going to change it up and just start from scratch.
Yeah, no bow tie and no beard.
Yeah.
But you all know I'm here with the bag of tricks. I'm sorry. It's not who I am. I'm definitely a man with a beard. Craig, I will not leave that team. Will not leave you hanging. So don't
we
worry.
got team beard going on, especially during this time. Yeah.
But again, it is the holiday season, so let's enjoy it. Let's get into it. It is December, so got to have a little festivity with us today.
Yeah, your shirt's a little more festive today. Usually
yeah, a little putting it all out there together. So, I was told the fun little nugget that this is the 8th LinkedIn Live. It just happened to be that the shirt worked out perfectly into that. And so, again, we'll hopefully leave you the best for last year.
All right. We last 8 days. We last 8 of these sessions. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Nabila and Lorne, to talk about SuccessFactors recruiting.
Awesome. Thank you, Craig. Well, hello, everyone. Again, I'm Nabila. We're going to talk about all things recruiting today, all the new exciting features and updates from the second half release that is now live in production. We're going to cover recruiting management, the career site, and recruiting posting. So, Lorne, let's kick off there at the beginning with recruiting posting. I hear there's some really exciting news for clients. Give us, in a nutshell, what is recruiting posting and what's new about it?
Yeah, so recruiting posting is the API job connection between SuccessFactors to the job board. So without it, there are ways that you either have to manually post, you do job scrapes, you make custom XMLs, but with recruiting posting, it's all through, again, a SuccessFactor developed API that by setting up recruiting postings, you set what job boards you want requisitions to go to, you can set which users can select those job boards and what countries, what job slots, really a lot of customizations on it, and almost immediately that job would then be posted from your SuccessFactors environment into that job board. So it's something that's been around for a little bit by SuccessFactors, but the biggest news with this release is they have simplified it. And not only have they simplified it for customers, they've actually made the implementation of it free for the clients. You no longer need a partner. You no longer need SAP professional services to actually turn it on. Nowadays, it can become on in your environment. You just open up an SAP ticket to connect the final stage of it, really just connecting those wires, so to speak, for the API job. Whereas before, there was some things you had to do in provisioning to actually get the connection working. Don't get me wrong, we're not going to kind of sell ourselves short here. There's still a ton of value add that a partner or a consultant like Nabila and I can bring. And I know, Nabila, you have tons of experience with it. So why don't you kind of talk about some of your ad hoc value that we can bring for recruiting posting and setting it up for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So with recruiting posting now kind of more being enabled more so out of the box, um, if you just want to use it for job posting, kind of a centralized place where you can post to your job boards, not have to log in to LinkedIn and Monster and all the other boards, but to do it just from recruiting, then that's pretty simple to set up on your own. If you wanted to work with a partner, there's a lot of extra features, things like um, automated field completion. So LinkedIn, for example, requires a certain set of fields in order to be able to post to that job board. Instead of having to retype those in, you can just pull them in straight from your requisition and you're good to go. You don't have to manually do any of that on top of it. You can also do automated job posting, which is very cool. Under certain conditions, if a certain set of criteria are met, it'll automatically post it to LinkedIn and you don't have to even worry about it.
Exactly. And so again, right, the partners being at SAP Professional Services, Rizing partners, we have the experience doing this. While it could be set up in your environment by yourself, and the guides are great, by bringing us in, we have that kind of value add. We know what you can or cannot do in your test environment versus your production environment, how to set up all the RBPs for it as well. So again, while it can be deployed now by clients on their own, there still is that value add of bringing in a partner like ourselves. The other big one, which is a huge cost saver, is the elimination of recruiting posting job credits. So what those job credits were is you kind of had to pay a fee to utilize the SuccessFactor API itself on top of paying your LinkedIn, your Glassdoor, your Monster kind of contracts. And what it was is recruiting posting also offers free job boards, college job boards that might not have a pay structure to it, but you still have to pay or utilize a job credit. And while SAP did give clients some of those for free based on the amount of seats they had, if you ran out, if you were using too many, even if you were just posting to niche or college job boards that are free, you would have to pay for more job credits potentially, but now it's unlimited. So really the way that it is that a free job board, posting to a free job board is now 100% free on that. So again, Nabila, anything to add to that point?
That's it, Lorne. I think that's exciting. There used to be a lot of confusion over what credits am I paying for, what do I manage with the job board. A lot of that is simplified now, and that's really great. I think there was one more part of this feature. With automated job posting, right? I think there was a question that came in earlier. Craig, do you have a question for us on automated posting?
Yeah, I did have. We had a question that was submitted early. So with automated job posting, how do we know when the requisition is posted to the job board?
Go ahead, Nabila.
Yeah, it's a honestly a gap in the product before of automated job posting has been around for a couple of releases, but you wouldn't know when a board has actually been posted. You'd actually have to go check in the rec to see if it had been posted. They've now added a new feature to notify the poster once that job posting has been automatically made. So it's a nice little extra benefit just to make sure it got posted correctly to the right board.
And the thing to add is that I think it kind of brings the recruiting posting feature in line with the actual recruitment job board feature that's there, because you can set up currently in recruiting when a job gets posted to your external or internal site, you can set up who gets a notification, being it potentially the hiring manager, the recruiter, it customizes who it is. And now in recruiting posting, while it can only be the poster, I'm confident that will, get expanded in future releases. It's the fact that they can now get a notification, if it works properly, when it gets posted. So as you said, Nabila, you're not just going out there randomly checking, refreshing. When am I getting my first kind of candidate when you don't even have the posting up yet? So again, it's a small win, but for those who are interested in knowing when everything gets posted just for checks and balances, it's a nice little one that an enhancement you can add on for recruiting posting as well. The one that I want to call out, I know, the big job board. So again, every release, SAP adds more job boards to the recruiting posting functionality. With this release came military.com. That's a bigger one that I just want to call out just because I know that there is an add in JavaScript for the military skills translator that a lot of our clients use. and especially in the US. And so again, now just in case that is one of the job boards that you are actively working on, it can go through recruiting posting as well now. So just keep an eye out if you're implementing recruiting posting, or if you already have, as to all those new job boards that come out globally. There's probably about 10 or 15 that comes out at times, and it's not always on release times. They kind of summarize it and put it all out to us at the release time, but they really do get added, potentially monthly throughout the process as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great point. I've had a lot of clients recently, especially with this new feature of removing the credits and making it kind of on out of the box. A lot of clients want to know, well, what is even out there? What's available? What boards are available? And so now, just by, enabling recruiting posting and just giving yourself the admin RBP, you can go check out the marketplace and just click around. So without even implementing, you can do that in your test environment, and just scroll through and see, are the boards that you currently use today or want to use in the future available?
Exactly. So amazing. So that's it for our recruiting posting topic. And so with a new topic comes a new headwear.
You are so prepared today, Lorne.
I told you I'm going to make it festive. So
You sure did.
We're going to go with this one. So with that, we're going to jump into recruitment. And so I know with recruitment, again, this one was probably the first one in a little while that I can remember that actually had an opt-out feature. Mm-hmm. And so I know it has stuff to do with one-time passcodes and security. And so Nabila, do you want to kind of give us a little bit more information on that?
Absolutely. So this is a new security feature that SAP has introduced. It impacts external candidates. So going forward, when external candidates are first creating their account on the career site, they would be required to enter in a one-time passcode that was emailed to them before they can move forward and finish creating their account, set up their resume, apply for a job. Lorne, as you said, it's an opt-out feature, so it was automatically turned on in preview environments when the release came out in test. And it is not yet on in production, but it will be next month. And that is something that clients would have to opt out of. In general, SAP is recommending for clients to keep this turned on. In this day and age, there are a lot of stories in the news where there are, bots kind of creating fake accounts on many websites, not just HR software, right, but across the board. And it's becoming more commonplace to have a multi-factor authorization or some kind of passcode entry before you create an account. So in general, SAP is saying to leave it on. We have, heard from some clients and companies that there are some concerns about adding a step to the candidate experience. So it's kind of weighing that against the security risk.
And I think that's always what this is, right? Especially like when you're using SuccessFactors, it's always technical versus process, right? And this is something you got to weigh internally. So, as I said about this, or I thought about this kind of situation, is prior to the one-time passcode, there was an authorization functionality that SAP SuccessFactors offered that after you put in your email address and your general profile, you would get an email address that you had to hyperlink out to select to authorize your account. They've gone away from that and they've gone to the one-time password. It is more secure. And so again, it comes down to, from a process perspective versus a security perspective, where does your company lie? There is not a wrong or right answer. I think you're going to get different people on different sides of the fence. But this is definitely an item that you want to ensure you are having those internal conversations for, especially since this is one of those, and we're going to talk about it a little later in the session, that is not live right now. So I know production went in 2 weekends ago, but this one is actually held off until January. And so in case you're listening to this now and you're wondering, oh, where's that one-time password? It did not go in with the release. It's going in January. The date is still TBD unless Nabila, I have not heard of a hard date. I know it's early January, but.
Yeah, the latest I heard was January 11th. We all know that could shift and hopefully we get plenty of notice for that. But the 11th of January is the latest we know.
There we go. So what that means is that, be ready that on the 12th, or potentially the night of the 11th, you're going to want to go in there if you're turning it off, because once they deploy it, it impacts your external new candidates immediately. It's very simple to turn off. It's in role-based admin center, manage recruiting settings. There's a little box under there that just says disable one-time passcode, turn that off, and off you go. But again, Nabila's 100% right. You're 100% right. The security aspect of it, the benefit is there. SAP is trying to go more from everything that we've heard about, infiltrations and hacking and bots. And it is a minor blip in the process from an email perspective. Maybe it goes to junk, maybe not. But again, just have those internal discussions. Test it out now in your test environment. Play around with a whole bunch of different email servers. See what goes through, what doesn't go through. I will say from my testing experience, it has always come to my inbox thus far. And I've tried about 4 or 5 different email servers. So that's a positive sign. But you obviously cannot control the whitelisting and the strength of candidates' emails, inbox settings as well.
Right. And for anyone that hasn't tested it yet, it is fairly real time. That passcode goes out almost instantly. In my testing, that's been my experience. And SAP has shared with us that they haven't, in SAP's network, they haven't really experienced a high volume of these attacks. However, we have had a client that came to us because they had thousands of fake or dummy profiles created on their career site by a bot. And so that was crowding up their candidate database. They had a bunch of junk dummy data in there. And, this kind of feature might have prevented that. Once you kind of get in that situation, there's no easy cleanup at that point. It's quite complicated to try to go through your database and weed out what might be a fake or a dummy profile. So as Lorne said, so I'm going to talk with your security team, talk with your internal process teams, and just make a call what works best for your company.
So I've been told there's a couple of questions out there. So the first one is, what's the ref number for the one-time passcode? So I'm sure it'll get posted on the screen, but it is RCM-78869. And again, it is an admin opt-out. And the other one was, Nabila, a question that just came in a little bit late, and so we passed it, but let's go back to it. They just wanted to hear the instructions again about where you can see the recruiting posting job boards.
Oh, absolutely. And so the first prerequisite step is to make sure it's turned on in your environment. As Lorne mentioned earlier, that does take an SAP ticket to do the final connection point. And then role-based permissions to just give yourself access to the managed recruiting posting tool. So once you have your RBP set up, all you would do is go to Manage Recruiting Posting. It's an admin center, and there is a tile called Job Board Marketplace. Click in there, and you'll see a long list of the hundreds of boards that are supported.
Awesome. And again, we got the one about the reference number, so we are good there. The other thing to kind of just go into, we were talking about securities, and one of the other updates they had was about the CAPTCHA update that they have done. So for those of you who don't know, CAPTCHA is kind of either at the bottom, you have to enter in random alphanumeric characters or a number. Some of the CAPTCHAs are you actually have to select a couple of the photos. That's what the CAPTCHA functionality is. So what SAP SuccessFactors has done with this release is there was always the CAPTCHA functionality available when you are creating external candidate profiles, but they have now added on the fact that when you are resetting an account password, you have to enter in the CAPTCHA as well. Again, I will be honest, in my experience, it was something that I think clients used a number of years ago when it was first available and CAPTCHA was brand new, and it was like, yep, that's the new security kind of thing to do. And I don't know that many that have it now. But for those that do have it now or are interested in just putting on every security measure that you have, again, the release is it's now amended to the resetting of your account password. So to reset an account password, you have to put in the CAPTCHA code as well.
And Lorne, that one is an opt-in or an opt-out feature?
That is an opt-in feature. So you have to go in again to Admin Center. So it's all within the front end, nothing in provisioning, and turn on the CAPTCHA functionality. And again, it is now you turn it on with the external creation and the password recall. Good call out, because I know we were talking about the admin opt-out before for the one-time passcode. The
right.
CAPTCHA is an admin opt-in. So you will not see that one unless you check the box.
Makes sense.
So Nabila, really the next one for you is, I know there was also some enhancement features with role-based permissioning for the offer areas, offer detail, offer letter, offer approvals, and some emails.
That's right. That's right. So there were a couple new features that came out. As some of you may know, a lot of the permissions and access within recruiting is really housed within the recruiting module. There's not very much that's controlled through role-based permissions, but these two features actually bring some of that access into your centralized RBP or role-based permission setup. And as Lorne, you just said, they both have to do with offers. The first feature has to do with offer letters. So you now have the ability to restrict by RBP group, by role, who has access to create certain offer letters. So some companies have a very simplified list of offer letters. You might only have a handful of them, but other companies need to have a really robust set of offer letters. You might have them differentiated by country, by state, by region, and perhaps even further down than that. And so some of our clients do have a valid use case for where you may not want to give every single recruiter access to create every single offer letter. Maybe, for example, you have an executive offer letter and you want to limit that to a certain group of recruiters being able to create that template. So that's that first feature. It's most useful for our clients who either already have their RBPs set up in a way where it would make sense to differentiate, or if you're interested in updating your RBP to make that happen. And so that covers offer letters. There was another feature that has to do with offer details or offer approvals. That's the part of the process where you fill out the offer form and it goes through a route, an approval route, to get the details of the offer approved.
And I know that one's a little bit, interesting because, again, the functionality was technically there, but wasn't really connected. As we say, the wires weren't really connected for that one.
That's right.
So I know that one. This one's a little bit more interesting, and kind of there's really two ways to look at it for the clients, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So previously in role-based permissions, there's always been a place to grant access to create forms. That was a general user permission, and it worked for requisitions. So if you wanted to give only certain groups access to create certain requisitions, that's how you would do it. It gave you the ability to restrict who could create certain offer details as well, but it didn't actually work. As you said, the wires, they weren't actually connected. And with this new release, now those that does apply. And so, Lorne, as you said, a couple ways to look at it. If you already have restrictions in place and you don't want them, review your roles and make sure you get rid of that. If you have people that have access to take action and initiate an offer approval in recruiting, but they don't have the RBP set up, then you're going to have to go in and add that into RBP. Previously, you didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, and I do know that in the RBP, there is the all functionality in the event that you have everybody who has access to all the templates. If you only have a couple modules, that might be the case. There's no impact from you. So again, this is classified as an admin opt-in, because from an RBP perspective, opt into utilizing it. But as Nabila, you just said, is there are clients who might have opted into only showcasing the requisitions because the offer approval templates didn't do anything before. And so by it not being selected, you kind of opted out of it. And now you got to go back and adjust your RBP so you're opted into the functionality as well.
Yep, great point. And you'll, now that it's hit production, we've had a couple clients kind of get a bit stuck and say, "Oh, I can't create my offers anymore." If you kind of get to that point, then check RBP.
Yeah. And then I know it was a little bit older potentially, but I think there was potentially, again, some RBPs on the offer, on the emails. I know we talked about offer letters and offer approvals. So really the emails is the third piece of the puzzle.
Yes, that's right. I think every single implementation I've ever done, I've had my client kind of bring to me that it's absurd that when you are generating an offer letter and you're picking which email template you want to send, essentially as the cover letter for the offer, it shows you a long list of every single email template for recruiting that's available in the system. All of your disposition emails, other candidate emails, recruiter emails, it shows you everything. And for our clients, we've usually gotten, we get a little creative and maybe put a number 1 at the beginning of the email template so that it pops up at the top of your list, but it's still not the best experience. So now with RBP, this is also opt-in. You can restrict that list that shows up when you're choosing your offer letter email template so that you only see the relevant offer emails and not everything else.
Awesome. So the other thing that was out there, so, I think we talked about the security side of it. We talked about role-based permissioning. The next one that I kind of want to highlight is it was a small enhancement. It's the resume viewer within Talent Pool, but, it really gives us the opportunity to talk about candidate relationship management and Talent Pool functionality as a whole. So again, the specific feature for the H2 2020 release was the fact that you now, within the resume viewer, some people call it the resume carousel, as you're flipping through your candidates' resumes, you can add them into a talent pool. Again, small little thing that you don't have to X out. Remember who you were in. Maybe you had 2 John Smiths. So how do you know which one when you're looking at the resume? Now you can just put them in. Yes, when you're in there, you can still choose which status or bucket they go into for that talent pool. So that's in there. But again, this is if you have Career Site Builder, and you're not using candidate relationship management as a whole. So candidate relationship management comes with a lot of pieces, right? You have the ability to do emails and job layouts and really communicate directly with a subset of candidates. Talent pools is a sub feature that you do not need Career Site Builder for. So you will not get all that candidate relationship management has to offer if you don't have CSB, but if you're interested in just the talent pool feature of it, again, you can turn on CRM. You won't get any of the CSB elements because you don't have the CSB, Career Site Builder element, to go with it, but you can still build out the talent pools. And now with the resume viewer enhancement, you get that as well.
Right, absolutely. And CRM, candidate relationship management, it's something that it came out a couple years ago, and with every release, they kind of keep adding on to it, keep building upon the features. It is something that you can turn on yourself through Upgrade Center. And as Lorne said, there's different pieces to it. There's the talent pools, and for Career Site Builder customers, there's a couple other pieces of it. But it's something you can turn on yourself and start playing with it. And a partner like Rizing can help you really get the most out of those features that are already included in your license. So you might as well turn it on and start using it.
Agreed. Were there any other kind of small universal enhancements? Again, I don't want to kind of leave those out. I know they might not be as big and are as sexy, but hey, the small little universal ones still impact us.
Yeah, they're nice to have in there. There's been a couple. So there was a change, UI user interface change to the calendars. So anywhere you have a date field or a date picker in recruiting, they've updated the UI for that. One thing to call out: previously there was a link to select today's date or use today's date. That they've done away with that, and instead they've just added a better highlight onto today's date. So something small to call out, but if you have training materials or your teams are very reliant on maybe using that use today's date, it might be good to just update those materials and inform your team. And there's one more feature on the Universal People Search. Lorne, can you tell us about that one?
Yeah, so with Universal People, again, if you're searching for somebody inside your company, really they made 2 enhancements for it. So the first one is if you are a concurrent hiring company, so if you are hiring people into multiple positions, you would now see all of the positions and the jobs that they're associated to, and their primary role will have a star on it, right? So if you work at a call center and you're a security guard or something like that for the company, you would now actually be able to see that person with both positions, both jobs in the Universal People Search, as well as if you do I'm going blank on it. Not concurrent hire. That's what I just said. There's another column for it as well. I apologize. I have lost my train of thought on it. Nabila, can you remember the column that I'm talking about?
Yeah. So you're referring to when you're looking in the Universal People Search, you see the title and the location, I believe, right, of the person, as well as if you have concurrent employment being used, then you can see both, which employment and select the right one. Looks like I haven't hit on the right one yet.
Contingent worker. If you're a contingent worker,
Okay.
you're using contingent worker. So I had to reference my notes. I usually got it all up here. It's the antlers. I'm just not good. I gotta go
They
back to the
stick out
Santa
your
hat.
brain power. Yeah.
Exactly. It was bound to happen, right? I was bound to slip up at least once. I'm proud it's only once. So if you're doing contingent workers, if you're using the contingent worker functionality, there's now a column that will call out if they are a contingent worker as well. So again, it's all in one space. It's all in one place for you to see it all. So all of that really helps. Again, universal deployments, small little wins, changes to the UI, but everything, again, we don't have to go looking in other areas for potential pertinent information. It always helps.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think that about covers the core features for recruiting management. There were quite a few in the RMK. Oh, here we go.
New topic, new hat. New topic, new hat.
I kind of want to throw in an extra topic in there to see what you do on your feet. Let's hit Career Site Builder. So there were, I think, quite a few features. I don't know if there were any that were really major or high impacts, but a lot of definitely nice to have improvements. I think there were quite a few image type improvements. Lorne, tell us about those.
Yeah, so the big thing about Career Site Builder is obviously clients can do it all themselves, right? Legacy recruiting marketing, the big advantage there was everything was pixel perfect. You could really place anything exactly where you want it. And Career Site Builder, it's all in standard elements, but they're moving towards as close to a pixel perfect functionality as you can get with some of the enhancements in this release. So really what it is, you can now add padding and you could add spacing for your 2-column elements, your text elements, and then as well the job tokens within your job layout, right? So where it really says on the job layout on the top there kind of what some of your tokens are, you can now add spacing in between those. So just getting a little bit more, as I keep saying, pixel perfect, spacing exactly how you want it. This is a big one for people who have, or for clients who have different elements for their desktop, their mobile, and their tablet. Because before, you really just had to, whatever the spacing was, that's what you had to live with, and you had to really choose, did I want the spacing for the desktop or for the mobile? But now that you can do the spacing individually on the elements, you can create different elements for, let's say, the desktop and the mobile, and then do the spacing differently for each of those elements that appear on your device that you are using. And so, I know I purposely did not say a word in there. I purposely did not say duplicate the component because I know that is probably one of the fanciest, nicer, like, oh, we're so happy to have it release ones with this one that just came out. So Nabila, do you want to talk about really the duplicating functionality that's out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for quite a while, we've had the ability to duplicate pages. So if you've already built out a content page or a category page, and let's say you want to duplicate it to have it as a template and then translate it or make some small tweaks to it to make another version of it, that's been available. But with this release, we now have the ability to duplicate a component. So whether it's a custom component that you've built out on the site, or even just a standard component that you put a lot of work into setting the spacing right and picking the right image and setting all the verbiage, instead of having to manually recreate all of that, you can just hit the duplicate component button and it'll copy it for you. It's a huge opportunity for clients who maybe when you first went live, maybe your team may not have put a big focus in building out your mobile or your tablet site. Maybe your career site focus was on the desktop view, and that same view now shows up on the mobile phone. It does its best with the responsive design to try to make it look as good as it can on a mobile device. But there are some things, best practices that just are going to be different across a mobile and a desktop view. You might have introductions for your key leadership team and pictures on your desktop site, but if you try to show that on your mobile site as well, your candidates are left scrolling for days. And so with duplicate component, you can now duplicate an existing component, set it to be only applicable for your mobile site, and then tweak it as needed so that it makes sense for which version you're looking at.
Yeah, I literally just went through this with a client yesterday or the day before that they actually just used this because, as you just said, on their desktop they were trying to have images for their hot jobs, and they were using the 3-column, the 3-image carousel for their desktop. So they had 6 images they wanted, so they had 3 and 3 for their desktop, and then on their mobile, because they didn't want 3 and 3, and as you said, scrolling, they did individual 6 one below one another for the individual images and hyperlink them out. And so the fact is, you can now just duplicate one by one by one by one by one, change out the image, hyperlink it the way you need to, but you keep the font, you keep the formatting of everything with that component. It's a big win for those who are editing or making, really new to Career Site Builder as well.
Absolutely. For better or for worse, every component has, for the most part, has its own style section, has its own font settings. There's a lot that you can do to really customize your site, but it can take a while to really build it out the way you want to. So I think that hopefully that duplicate component will really help.
For sure. Hey, Craig, we got a question. You're on mute, sir.
Always. I have another question, and I'll take my answer off the air, they say on the radio. With the ability to have different elements on the desktop, and this is one that was submitted beforehand. So with the ability to have different elements on the desktop and mobile, can you actually have different logos per device?
So it's a great question. I think, that obviously came in by somebody who was reading the release feature. So it is something that is brand new right now. So before this release, you were only able to load one logo to your Career Site Builder, and then through responsive design, you kind of had to play with it. The sizing made it work how it best can. Now what they've done is you now have a header desktop layout and a header mobile layout. And for your desktop layout, it's a 4 across component. For the mobile layout, it's a 3 across component. And those components, you could actually choose where the logo goes as well. So before, it was always just really, the top left is where the logo was. You can now move it around. You can add different, the picker to it, different images, different elements to your header. So it's not just for the logo. It is probably the biggest win because now you could have different logos for your desktop and your mobile, as you asked, Craig. But again, the fact is you can now put individualized elements and completely differentiate how your header is between the two platforms is a nice win for Career Site Builder. For sure. Thanks. So I know, Nabila, from the onboarding one, we unfortunately do not have a guest appearance by anybody today. So sorry we don't get the fun little kind of rollout that we had. But again, I will shout out Dresden for joining us last time. But she just unfortunately was not available for this one. So I know there was a couple other smaller elements for Career Site Builder, one being, a meta image functionality. Can you give us a little bit more information on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you've ever posted a link on a social media site, Facebook, even Microsoft Teams, and even LinkedIn, when you paste in a link into a post, a lot of times it'll bring with it an image. You didn't paste the image, it just automatically kind of carries over with the link that you've put in. So now SuccessFactors Career Site Builder has support for that kind of image that gets carried over with a URL. So the use case for it would be if you choose to set this up, then let's say if you're sharing a job posting, a job that's already posted on your external career site, let's say you want to share it on Facebook or Microsoft Teams or any supported site. When you paste in that URL, it will now bring with it the image that is configured as the meta image. Currently, you can only configure one meta image for the brand. So, you can't kind of customize it by job types right now, but it might still be useful. You could, at the very least, use your company logo. You might choose to create kind of a collage of a few different images that represent your brand.
Sure, a hero image that you might have on your site right now.
Yeah, exactly. The hero image is kind of a perfect example of what's on your homepage right now is the big flashy image. You can link that up as the meta image.
Awesome. And so I know there was one other small universal one is if you have recruiting marketing advanced analytics and you utilize brand, as you kind of were just talking about, you can now actually filter out your AA data by brand. So again, for clients who have multiple brands, before you didn't really know where all that information was coming from, you potentially had to manually cut it out. Now, by connecting a brand field on your recruitment requisition into your recruiting posting, either through the brand field itself, potentially a custom field, however it really connects into that brand area, again, natively into Recruiting Marketing Advanced Analytics, you will now be able to filter out by brand. So for all of our AA clients out there who have brands as well, I'm sure this is a nice little win. Again, I am a numbers geek, a data analytics geek. So again, the more kind of cuts and drives and splits you can do on data, I'm always for. So again, it's something that is small, but you know, your analytics department's probably happy on that one.
Yeah, advanced analytics is an awesome tool, just like CRM. It's there. It's part of your license. If you have Career Site Builder and you have recruiting management, the whole purpose of it is to give you a full line of sight of when someone first visited my career site to when they submitted an application to when they got an offer to when they actually got hired, right? You can kind of see that funnel view by your job boards. It's something that's, again, it's part of your license. It takes, it's a relatively simple implementation that you can work with a partner to get all set up and running, and then it just goes on its own. With the brands, I think it can be a little bit confusing with Career Site Builder because, of course, all companies have branding, and many companies have multiple brands that sit under a home brand. But in Career Site Builder, the word brand kind of has its own meaning. It literally means that you have separate versions of your site that are created under these different brands. So if you do have that already set up, this is definitely a win.
Perfect. So I know we technically only have these 3 modules, but just because you asked and you didn't think I was prepared,
I didn't.
You know, what do we got to be on the lookout for? So let's light it up on kind of what you got to be on the lookout for. What's coming out. Either, I know the production release just came, but there are definitely some elements, as we talked about earlier, one-time passcode being in January. Some, let's maybe re-highlight that as something to be looked out for. And is there anything else that's kind of coming in the future that was really called out with this release?
Absolutely, yes. So for our clients that are using interview scheduling, where you have integrated the interview scheduling tool with your Microsoft Outlook platform, there is a change coming next year. So you have time to get ready for it. But Microsoft is decommissioning support for the basic authentication for Exchange Web Services and is moving to the new modern authentication. So again, you've got time. This is coming out. Lorne, do we have a date? I believe it's mid next year?
It was mid next year, yeah. There wasn't actually a hard date on it. Again, it's based on when Microsoft, as you said, is decommissioning it. And so I think SuccessFactors is just being, a preemptive on it. I'm sure it'll be around H1 release that kind of queues up mid-year. Yeah, exactly like you said, is that for net new people who are doing it, use the modern authentication. SAP has great documentation on it, on how to do it, guides to set it up. And for those who are currently on the basic authentication, it's not that hard to switch over. Your IT team, I'm sure, will know exactly what they need to do to get the interview scheduling with Outlook reconnected into that modern authentication.
Excellent. And for things to look out for, there is one more on Career Site Builder. We actually got a sneak peek this week into some stuff that SAP is working on. So as with the last few releases, SAP has been taking more and more career site features that only existed in the back end, what they call command center, and bringing them into the front end. So with this release, for example, you now have site integration information, you have top jobs, SEO information that has now been brought into the front end. So through Admin Center, through Managed Career Site Builder, you can now see those settings. So there is a list of additional items that, again, today only existed in Command Center, going forward are going to be brought into the front end. And it's just part of their mission to give clients as much control as possible over your own career site. Once you go live, if you need to make changes, it should be simple and easy for you to do on your own. But if you need help, of course, we're always here.
Awesome. Well, again, as it just was in the last release, I had a great time talking with you. I think, we really hit everything that we could, answered a majority of the questions. Craig, I think if there was any other ones, we'll follow up offline for those people. But I think with that, Craig, back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Nabila, and thank you, Lorne. That was a really fun one. So yeah, that's all for us today. That's all for this series. I do want to thank two people on the back end that you're not seeing, although you'll see some of them in the comments, Val and Raleigh, who have been making this thing run smoothly and giving you all those cool graphics and all that. So I want to remind you that you can watch all 8 of these episodes covering pretty much every module that you can find in SuccessFactors. You can find those all on the Rizing HCM LinkedIn page. They're all just sitting there, recordings ready for you to watch. Again, you can submit any questions you have, hcm@rising.com. If you have any questions about the releases, you can also check out our blog, our Rizing blog, where we have also some very detailed blogs on each of the modules in the release. So yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for everyone who's followed along in this series, and we'll see you next time.